Hey guys, welcome to the bird's nest. Boy, today has been full of big news. But before I get started, please like, comment, and subscribe for your NFL recaps, news, and gossip. So, I already had news this morning, but it wasn't really big enough for me to do it alone. And then the big news came. I guess it's been about maybe 2.5 hours ago. It was announced that Joe Flacco was traded to the Bengals for a fifth-round pick. Joe Flacco and a sixth-round pick were traded to the Bengals for a fifth-round pick. So, that left the Cleveland Browns with only two quarterbacks on the roster, which is normal. Two on the roster, one on the practice squad. Now, if you have three quarterbacks and you don't want to lose any of them, then you designate one of them as the emergency QB. Because if you put them on the practice squad, another team can take them. So Shedeur is one that was an emergency QB, so that they didn't have to put him on the practice squad and have to get picked off for nothing, because you wouldn't even get it. It wouldn't even be a trade. They just would take him. And Jameis Winston is also an emergency quarterback, so the teams can't get him. So it took them a little minute. And I didn't check before I came on, but the last that I did check, the Browns didn't even do a formal announcement that Shedeur would be QB2. So I wasn't even sure. Until I hear that from them, I wasn't going to be sure. What they did do later was release the new depth chart. And that reflected that Shedeur was QB2. Hopefully they'll announce it. They just treat him so poorly. It's just terrible what they do to that boy. But that's okay. That's okay. He's QB2 now. That means, I won't even say unfortunately. I won't say unfortunately. But let's say Dylan gets injured. I'm assuming that would be the only way for Shedeur to have to play in the middle of the game without his own game plan. And that could happen. That happens all the time. Flacco was traded because the Bengals quarterback is injured. Jaden Daniels just came back from injury, quarterback. Lamar Jackson's still out with an injury. J.J. McCartney is injured. So, it happens. And, the Browns just did that big reveal to Ian Rappaport, saying that the reason why they didn't make Shedeur QB2 is because they didn't want him to get in the game under those circumstances. They want him to get in the game when it's his time to play with his own plays and not Dylan's plays. But what I think happened, my opinion, is that either or both teams have been calling for Shedeur, because I just named all those injured quarterbacks to you. Teams have been calling for Shedeur, or Coach Prime, who is Shedeur's agent, has been shopping Shedeur. And who knows how long that's been going on. Because Kenny Pickett was also traded. The Browns have now traded two quarterbacks that were above Shedeur on the depth chart, and traded them away to be backups. But they had them above Shedeur on the depth chart. Backups. So they're shady. And I told y'all what the pros told me. Talk about the best source in the whole wide world. If I say the pros told me, You can bank on that thing. The pros, I can't remember his name. He sometimes, like I see him on other shows. I don't know if he has his own show. I always see him guest starring on other shows. I've seen him on multiple shows. But he's the one that said, the teams use their local media to put information out. That way they don't have to say it directly themselves. They feed the information to the local media and they put it out. And just in case you haven't been keeping up with Cleveland media, they've been terrible to Shedeur. Calling him slow-minded, lazy, unprepared, all kinds of things that the Cleveland media has been saying about Shedeur. It's just, but since that pro told me that stuff comes from the team, I knew that it was the team kicking his back in like that. Because, like the pro said, if the information was not accurate, and the team didn't put it out, they would clean it up. They would say that's not true. If they don't say that's not true, it's true. Not that it's true, is that they said it. They said it, the team. Well, the big news that I got this morning that I said, well, that's not big enough for me to have do a whole video for, was that the guys on, they mad now. Now, I told y'all about that Ian Rappaport report that came out Sunday right before Dylan's game that said Shedeur is going to play for sure. We didn't want to make him QB2 because he needs his own plays the first time he gets out there. He shouldn't go out there and have to fill in because something happened to Dylan and use Dylan's plays. We want him to have his own plays. Well, him saying that kind of made a fool out of the Cleveland media because they've been taking the information that the Browns been giving them and slamming Shedeur. Mary Kay Cabot has said within the past week that if Dylan goes down or Dylan doesn't work out, that's what she said. If Dylan doesn't work out, they could go back to Flacco. The Browns told her that. And you don't know who it is. You have to say the Browns just because it comes from within their building. Somebody on the Browns staff telling them that. I attribute it to Stefanski because he's the one that doesn't like Shedeur. And he's the one that probably want to float the idea of going back to Flacco. Boy, ain't nobody putting up with that. Anyway, well, I think the Ian Rappaport report made them feel foolish because the Browns was telling them something different. Now, so that was true. We knew, well, I knew. You don't have to believe it. The pro said it. I believed it. So I knew. Everything that the Cleveland media was doing to Shedeur was at behest of the Browns. Well, that Ian Rappaport report done peeved the Cleveland media so bad that this morning, or was it last night? It could have been last night. I saw it this morning. It probably was last night. I got up very early this morning. So it was probably last night. Came out and said, out their mouth, go to 92.3 The Fan YouTube on a video that came out last night, like in the middle of the night, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, something like that. And said, they said verbatim. Well, maybe it wasn't verbatim because I can't remember the exact words. But they did say that Ian Rappaport report went against the texts that they've been receiving from the Browns disparaging Shedeur. He said that on air. The Browns been texting them. He said, I got the text. He told his co-host, I know you got the text too. From the Browns. Talking ish about Shedeur. Isn't that insane? I really believe Kevin Stefanski was behind that. And that's just an opinion. I will admit that I have a very low opinion of him, but that's only because he's the face. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what Jimmy Haslam is like. I don't know what Andrew Berry is like. I heard, as a matter of fact, I did hear there's a power struggle going on between Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski. So that makes me like Andrew Berry even more, because I definitely don't like Stefanski. I have seen, so regardless of who's doing these leaks to the media, I've seen him treat Shedeur unfairly, poorly. That Rams game, sending them out there with no resources, with the guys that were going to be cut the next day, non-NFL caliber players. That's what we sent them into that game with. Or the fact that Shedeur balled out in the Panthers game, and in the presser, he did his usual. Shedeur's working hard like all the rest of the guys, and was not congratulatory towards Shedeur at all. Dillon played in the next game by himself because Shedeur was injured and didn't play well. And Stefanski got in that press conference and took the blame for everything wrong that he did not. And not only did he take the blame, he blamed the rest of the coaching staff. He blamed the wide receivers. Like, he was blaming everyone on Dillon's behalf. But when it comes to Shedeur balling out, no turnovers, 30-point game, he couldn't talk about him for 1 minute. Shedeur and the rest of the guys. It's always that's always what he says about Shedeur. So he doesn't like him. He has shown that in many ways. Oh, and not to mention the fact that he hurt him severely when he took him out of the Rams game for the 2-minute drill. Shedeur was visibly upset and had to be comforted by his teammates. That's what Stefanski did. He does not like Shedeur in any event. So now we know. I done told y'all, the pros told me it already in the first place. But the media themselves, check it out for yourself on YouTube, 92.3 The Fan. And it is a good piece on Shedeur, because now the tides are turning. I've been looking for Mary Kay. I've been checking Mary Kay's timeline ever since this morning. I ain't been back in a while, but she been quiet as a church mouse ever since that Ian Rappaport report came out. Because the Browns have been making you look like a fool. Whoever it is in there that been feeding you that Shedeur is slow-minded. And he can't read defenses despite the fact that he's been playing football since he was in Pop Warner. All that mess that you were saying about him. I want to hear what she got to say now. And she had said something nice about him before. I watched the podcast of hers and it was positive. So that made me think things were turning around. It's that power struggle, I think, that's going on. So maybe Kevin will put out a negative report, and then the team will come back and put out a positive report. They're trying to let Kevin run the team like a coach, but he's blowing it, and they shouldn't even be letting him run the team because he sucks. Anyway, and now everybody is calling for his head on a platter. So he needs to put Shedeur in and let him save his job. That's what he needs to do. Because look, already 2 people that you had above Shedeur on the depth chart been traded. And you cannot convince me that those teams didn't want Shedeur instead. And the Browns were like, no, you can't have Shedeur. Here, take Kenny Pickett. Bengals. I also told y'all, within 10 minutes of the news coming out that Joe Burrow was injured and was going to be out until December, I was watching Nightcap with Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco. And Shedeur called. This is within moments of the news. Shedeur called Ocho Cinco while they were on air. And Ocho said, no, I didn't hear that. And got up and left and talked to Shedeur. Can't convince me that Shedeur wasn't like, help me get this trade, bro. Put a good word in for me with the Bengals. That's Chad's old team. Put a good word in for me. Can't convince me. I believe that that's why Shedeur was calling him. He was trying to get the heck up out of Cleveland. They shoving the mic in his face every minute as QB4 and 3. They feeding mess to the press, just like the pros told me. He's so stupid. Just like the pros told me, Dion knows too. He already knows. So he knows that the Cleveland media keeping their foot on Shedeur's neck is because the Browns are telling him. So I'm sure that he's been working behind the scenes trying to get Shedeur a trade, but the Browns won't let him go. And they still wouldn't let him move up the depth chart. Every move he has been up the move that he has made up the depth chart has been because they have traded one of those backup quarterbacks. The whole room was full of backup quarterbacks. That's why Shedeur wanted to go there. Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and Dylan Gabriel. Backup quality quarterbacks, and Flacco isn't even that. But he couldn't move up. He couldn't move ahead of them on the depth chart. But you trading them for 5th round picks. I bet you $1 gazillion they wouldn't trade Shedeur for anything less than a 2nd round pick. Because we know that 5th round nonsense, that draft nonsense was total nonsense. Shedeur is not a 5th round talent. He is a franchise quarterback. That's what he was born to be. And his skill set it matches that. So, I do want him to stay with the Browns. Even though Stefanski be on my last nerves. But I want them to get rid of Stefanski. And if they make Shedeur QB1 permanently, franchise QB1, they haven't had one of those in years. I mean, they tried to get it with Deshaun. Didn't work out. They're going to have to make a decision. Like, Dion needs to insist on that. For real. That's what I would do. Look, he got to go. He can't coach my son. My son can't throw checkdowns all game, every game. He's not going to do that. So, you can keep him in place if you want to. But Shedeur's going to play his game. There's going to be deep balls. There's going to be deep. Because that's what he does. That's his specialty. And then Shedeur need to get out there with Judy, just like he did with Gage Larvadane. And he needs to get out with, matter of fact, so during the bye week, Judy's the one he need to get to go on vacation with him. Because Judy needs some work. He's got to stop dropping those passes. And that's just fine, though. That's fine. I don't know what kind of... well, he won't have any power as a rookie. Oh, that's another thing I learned. So I was concerned, my whole concern about this plot, this scheme to blackball Shedeur was that they were ruining his rookie year and he wouldn't be in contention for any rookie awards. So this morning, now this was before I even knew about Flacco. Well, whether I knew about Flacco or not, we already knew that Shedeur had next. It didn't matter that Flacco was QB2. Shedeur was going to jump before they traded Flacco. He was going to jump from QB3 to QB1. That was what was going to happen. So we knew that was happening. And so I checked this morning to see what was the minimum... Sorry, guys. What was the minimum number of games Shedeur needed to play in order to be in consideration for Rookie of the Year? Guess what? There's no minimum. So even if he gets in there, I don't think this is going to happen. But even if he only got in there for like 1 or 2 games, if he went crazy, who knows? Maybe he could be in consideration. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I believe even more firmly now that after the bye, Shedeur will be QB1. We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out, but I really believe that. It's a good time to make a transition. It gives Dylan the same number of games that Flacco had, so they could make the argument that it was fair. And I think Haslam's ready. I think Haslam's ready. I think Mary Kay put that ding dang story out there about Flacco coming back if Dylan didn't work out, because Stefanski wanted her to say that. Haslam had to put his foot down on that. Otherwise, I believe Stefanski would have done that. Look, you don't like him. And I'm telling you, these people don't know. Shedeur gonna come out there and he's taking that franchise quarterback job. And now you done dug a hole for yourself to where the team got to choose between you and their franchise quarterback. I think this is Stefanski's last season with the Browns. Unless him and Shedeur can become fast friends for the rest of the season, he's gone. And then he's going to have to work with Shedeur to make plays. Because those little short passes are, no, absolutely not. No. So, that's the news. News you can use. Our nephew is QB2 once again because somebody got traded away who they claim was better than him, but they unwilling to let him go. And to all those teams that they turning down, no, yeah, good for you. That's what you get for going along with that diabolical plan to let our nephew fall in the draft, rob him of $40 million, and then you got the nerve to be calling for him. No, take Pickett. Take Flacco. You ain't getting the rookies. They QB1 and QB2. They the future of the Browns, whether they know it or not. Whether the Browns know it or not. So, that's that on that. And I'm going to be keeping an eye on that ding dang media. Because y'all know I didn't even mess with 92.3 The Fan ever. Today was the first time I listened to a whole broadcast of them. Because I happened to be scrolling. I woke up in the middle of the night. And they came on my YouTube timeline. And they had the title To Get Me. The narrative is changing around Shedeur Sanders. That's what they said. So when I saw a Cleveland media source saying that, I had to click on that thing. That was a good broadcast. The whole thing was good, not just the part where he confirmed the Browns been texting us, disparaging information about Shedeur. Ooh, they snitched. Yes, they did. They snitched on the Browns. They was mad about that Ian Rappaport report, boy. But I think that even they know. That they said, in fact, that power struggle is going on in the Browns. And Stefanski's on the wrong side of it. And I told y'all this in my last video. Andrew Berry is the one that recruited all those rookies that are balling out. And now Stefanski Berry. Andrew Berry. Did I say that? Andrew Berry, the general manager, got all those rookies. Kevin Stefanski insisted on Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, and Joe Flacco. Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco gone. Dylan Gabriel performing like a very strong backup, which is cool. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing to be ashamed of. He gets to be in the NFL, which is a dream. So, that's that on that. I just want to report the good news. Me personally, I don't care about QB2 at all. I'm here for QB1. And I don't want to put Shedeur in, he needs the reps. He needs the reps. He hasn't got the reps with first team, and he won't. QB2 doesn't get those. He won't. The only way that he can get them is in garbage time in the game, but even that's with like the twos. Once the number 2 quarterback comes in, he comes in with the twos, but the twos are high quality players too. So that's cool. That's cool. But yeah, I'm waiting for QB1, and I'm hoping it's after the bye week. That's that. Thanks for listening, guys. Y'all have a good rest of your day, and if anything exciting happens, I'll let you know. Alrighty, don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe. Mwah.